Oh, guess who took a Tylenol and is here for the chat? Hello! Oh, Sunspots is already here. Sunspots was ready to go. Sunspots was like, it's time. I came prepared to talk Trigun today. As you can see, I don't know if I can raise this up anymore. I don't know if it will be seeable that I'm wearing a Vast shirt. Maybe not. Maybe it is. I don't know. I need to get a taller chair, but hey, it's Romania Black, and we got 2 more live streams left until later on this year. So I've got questions about Stargaze, lots of stuff going on. I hope you all are having a very good Sunday. I think I'm going to do this chat obviously at this time. And then I think the last one I'm going to do in August here in a couple weeks will probably be one of the nighttime chats, like one of the 7 o'clock chats, because I think the afternoon or evenings work better for me. Mornings are hard on Sundays. I don't know. Sunday mornings is just hard to do a chat. So I'm glad you all are here. I love this shirt so much. I wish it's not the best summertime shirt because it is a little thicker, but I'm excited because once fall hits, that means the Trigun shirt is going to make its appearance there too. So I feel like it's appropriate. We're going to talk a little bit about Trigun today. Oh, Medella, yes. Hello. Welcome to the live stream first time. Yes. I'm glad you were able to make it in. We're going to sit here and talk a little bit, chat for a couple hours about the main thing I put up here was Trigun Maximum and Land of the Lustrous because I finished those, but I also kind of wanted to open up the discussion to be about transcribing and adapting manga to anime because I think that people have lots of opinions about that, and I have opinions about that, and so I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about that today. So yeah, I hope everybody's Sunday is going well, that everybody's feeling good. Yes, Sunspots has been probably, I would say Sunspots and Ace 22 have been probably like the ultimate fans of Trigun Maximum and my journey with that series, so that's been a fun time. But man, Trigun and Land of the Lustrous, 2 series that I thought were just going to be all these cutesy little shows, these cutesy little shonens and these little shows, and they turn out to be some of the most shaking, inspiring, life-changing series I've ever read. So that's been a fun time. I'm really sad that Land of the Lustrous is over. I'm very sad for that. I would love for them to make a second season one of these days if Studio Orange gets around to it. I wish that they would. We'll talk about that. And then Trigun Maximum, I can't be mad about Trigun because we still have Stargaze and there's still a whole nother year with Trigun left. So I don't feel so bad about that. I'm going to try to move a little closer here. And you can see like the remnants of Whiteboard Coon is off in the corner there. So yeah. So I hope you all are doing good. Sunspots has a question on the chat that we'll get to here in a second, talking about it. But I hope you all are having a good Sunday. Summer Hikaru Died is on the channel today. So hopefully y'all get to tune into that. That series is amazing. A fan of Land of the Lustrous. Oh my gosh. Yes. The manga. I'm so glad somebody that likes Land of the Lustrous is in here because it's so good. Truck, thank you. Truck is super excited today because on the Discord over on Patreon, starting this week on Patreon, we have Orb on the movements of the Earth beginning, which I've started up the Discord channel on there on Patreon right now. And Truck has been fielding the wild excitement everyone is having. So that's a lot of fun. Hello, Morales. Hello, Devilesque. Yes, welcome to the chat. But yeah, so I'm super excited. August has been a great month so far. I'm going to be honest with you all. It is very hard for me to go outside and do things because I want to stay in and watch all of the shows on this channel and start getting ahead of recording because it's just, I am in love with everything on the channel right now. I really am. There is not a show that I go, oh, I got to watch that this week. No, not that that's happened in a very long time. But sometimes I get more excited for other shows, like depending on my mood than others. But with starting Steins Gate and starting Orb and being an Odd Taxi and getting into Summer Hikaru Died and Dan to Dan, I have to watch at a certain time because I'm keeping up with them week to week. So I have to wait on those. But with the other series, I've kind of been like, ooh, can I just go ahead and watch? So those have been a lot of fun. But yes, hello. And so I'm really, really excited. But yeah, I am very happy that Trigun is not done, that I get to see Vash a little bit more. Also, with some of the series that I've started on this channel, I have gotten my dose of Vash like characters, which is great. So anytime that we can have a character like Vash is a good time to me. Although I was just thinking about Land of the Lustrous, since Madella pointed it out. There's not really a lot of characters that are like Foss from Land of the Lustrous. And that's kind of the awesome thing about that series. I have yet to really find, there is one protagonist that's kind of like Foss in a way, an unlikely comparison, which is Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan, but their similarities are very far between, but they're there. So I hope you all are doing good. I'm rambling right now. I had a headache earlier today. I took some medicine. I feel better. I know it's now technically the afternoon, Nicholas. So I'm glad you all have come to join. I really only have one question that was sent in from Patreon about Trigun Maximum, which was from Sunspots, which we'll get into here in a second. And then I just wanted to kind of talk about everybody's nothing a Dr. Pepper can't fix. I'm going to address that here in a second. But then I just wanted to talk about everybody's ideas about manga getting translated and adapted into anime. I think with Trigun as well as Land of the Lustrous, they've been great adaptations. We've had other shows on the channel that have been adapted, and so those have been exciting as well. I want to talk about a couple things with that. And then obviously the idea of multiple versions of series, because you have Land of the Lustrous and Trigun, which come at it from two different angles. But yeah, as far as what Nicholas is talking about, I was telling everybody on Discord that I started Steins Gate on Patreon this Saturday, yesterday, and oh my god. I feel as if my poor brain, Whiteboard Coon, whose leg is like barely visible in the corner there, Whiteboard Coon, between Odd Taxi, Word of Honor, Steins Gate, Orb, between those four series alone, Whiteboard Coon has had to work really hard. And Whiteboard Coon has been through a lot. But I did go to the store after watching episode 1 of Steins Gate, and without spoiling it for those of you that haven't seen the series, even though it's been out for a decade now, without spoiling anything, I went to the store and bought a lot of Dr. Pepper. I don't drink soda. I need to cut back on soda, but I've told myself, I'm like, I'll drink one Dr. Pepper per Steins Gate reaction, and that'll be my soda fix. That'll be my way of curbing my soda cravings, which will probably mean that I'll just watch ahead on Steins Gate, but not too much, because that series is so long and it gets my brain like just completely in full swing. I've thought about quantum physics and things that I haven't thought about since high school, and my brain in my mid-30s is kind of melting from thinking about it with Steins Gate. So there's some fun discussions ahead. Your last can of Coke today, Truck. You know what? I understand. I try not to drink a lot of soda because it's not good for you. And I've tried to cut back, but as a kid, I drank a lot of soda. So cutting back has always been a little bit of a challenge. But yes, cutting for months now. I drink twice a week. Yes, I definitely still crave soda. And so I think the Steins Gate fix will help me to get that craving in, but then be like, okay, now you're done, no more, and then drink more water and things that are healthier. But hello, Luca left the left. Hello, hi chat. Indeed, a very fun selection of shows for Whiteboard Coon. Poor Whiteboard Coon. Whiteboard Coon, y'all don't know this, but poor Whiteboard Coon, his wheels and stuff comes off all the time. I'll be like moving him around, his wheel will fall off. I've only had it happen once during a discussion that his wheel fell off mid-discussion. I had to stop the video and be like, oh God, because I was afraid he was going to fall on me and fall into the computer, which was terrifying. That's only happened once, and that's been like a year ago. But I do occasionally have to give him some tune-ups because he's old now. Whiteboard Coon has been around since season 2 of Attack on Titan on the channel, which is like, he's like 4 years old. I don't know the lifespan of whiteboards, but he's lived a very thorough life as of right now. So I hope you all are doing good. I'm excited. I don't know what shows you are excited for on the channel. I'm assuming you're here just to chat or talk about maybe Trigun and maybe Land of the Lustrous. This is going to be a pretty informal chat because I Don't have a lot to plan to talk about other than just some basics with you all, except for Sunspot's question, which we'll get into it. Is Whiteboard Coon fanfics considered an old man yaoi? You know what? We don't have official Cloud Bakery here in the chat right now to confirm whether or not they consider Whiteboard Coon yaoi to be old man yaoi, but Whiteboard San, if he's not, hey, no, Whiteboard San if you're nasty. So no. I don't think that Whiteboard Coon is old. I would not call him old man yaoi. That makes me feel old if he's old. So no, he's a suave debonair in his 30s. We'll just say that. Yeah, he's not old yet. Not yet. That's really funny, Nicholas. That's really funny. I haven't seen if Official Cloud Bakery has any more Whiteboard Coon fan fiction out yet. I don't know. So might have to check that out this fall, do an update. But yeah, so I'm excited about Trigun. As you all know, I had to wear my Vast shirt for this discussion. I'm not going to get into spoilers, obviously, but I do want to talk a little bit about Sunspot's question since it's been brought up. And then if you all have any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask about Trigun or Land of the Lustrous, any of those. Sunspots asked, what are you hoping to see in Stargaze, which is coming out in 2026? So excited. Or any changes that you are extra excited about? I'm very glad when I went to the convention my brother and I went to back in May. I was really happy that the panel we saw on Trigun did not give a lot of spoilers, which was great because I was really afraid that I was going to sit there and watch that panel and they were going to say, so here's Stargaze and some spoilers. And I've been like, I would not have been ready. And so I was glad that didn't happen. But I would say having finished Trigun Maximum, without spoiling things for those of you that haven't watched Trigun Maximum, those of you who know will know what I'm talking about. Alindira, there is so mujust reading Trigun Maximum, there is so much you can do with Alindira. So much. Livio, I don't want to spoil because there's probably people in the chat who have not read Trigun, but oh my God, Livio knowing Trigun 1997 version, there is stuff with Livio's character, but I would argue it's not a lot in comparison to Maximum and compared to in Stampede. In Stampede, we're getting more into Livio, which is a lot of fun. I honestly, after reading Trigun Maximum, I was like, oh my God, there's so much they can do with Livio. There's so much they can do with him. And so Stampede almost felt like they were holding back. They were intentionally holding back. Like Stampede felt like they were waiting to see what the gauge would be from the reception from the audiences to be like, oh, Livio's here. Awesome. And I hope that they have held back intentionally and that they're going to like let things go all out with his character because there's so much you can do with him. Now, here's my dilemma, and I am going to get into like a little mild. I'm going to try not to spoil too much for those of you that haven't read Trigun Maximum. You should go read it. But real quick, and you can just like put in your headphones or whatever and tune me out for the next 30 seconds to a minute. But I feel as if it's going to be a little hard for Stargaze to do Livio versus Alindira as she is now. Although Alindira is very petite. If they just had Livio fighting this petite, slender little Alindira, that'd be kind of fun. And I would think it'd be kind of neat and interesting. So yes, but I feel like there's a part of me that wants to be selfish and have Stargaze not have the ending for Wolfwood that Maximum and the regular series has. There's a part of me that wants to be selfish and say, well, maybe they'll change it up. Maybe things won't happen to him that happened in the other series. But then the other part of me is thinking, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I think that was one of the things though that made Livio's character so great is you had stuff happen to this one character and it was really, really sad. And then you're like, well, where do we go to from here? Because in Maximum, it happens fairly early on in the manga when this character is lost. And you're like, well, we still have like 4 more volumes. What are we going to do? And then Livio steps up as a character and him and Vash have this amazing dynamic. And then Legato, of course, Legato's back on the back wall. I almost brought him out. He's like him and Vash are side by side there on the shelf. But stuff with Legato, stuff with Livio, stuff with Alindira, those are the three that I'm like, yes, I'm so excited in Stargaze to see more with Legato, with Livio, and Alindira. I want to see so much more with them. But then we ended Stampede with the ships from Earth coming, which means that, you know, Chronica and those characters are going to be there. So it's like, what are we going to do with them? And then, of course, there's Knives and Vash and Wolfwood. And I'm very excited to see how Knives, because there's some stuff with Knives and Vash at the end of Stampede that is taken from Maximum in a way. And so I was curious what they're going to do for Stargaze. But if they adapted Maximum and incorporated the content of Trigun Maximum into the style of Stampede and Stargaze and into that rendition, I think they could do it really well. And I'm really excited to see what creative decisions they make. But I'm really excited. I'm glad I got to finish Maximum before Stargaze came out, because I questioned that. I'm like, do I want to read it before Stargaze happens? I'm so glad I did now, because now I can go into it and go, oh, is this what they're going to do? Are they going to do? And they may do something totally different. And I want to talk about that here in a second. But there was a question from Luca Left the Left. Have you watched the Trigun movie for the 10th anniversary? I've seen Badlands Rumble. Yes. There we go. Thank you for the sunspots. I was like, I've seen Badlands Rumble. Is that it? And so, yes. Yeah, I have seen that reaction. It is on the channel. Yes. It should be in the Trigun playlist. It should be in that playlist. If it's not, let me know, because occasionally I accidentally click a box and it's the box under it or over it. So I usually will have people in the comments section be like, hey, did you know that there's a Trigun episode in the middle of Revolutionary Girl Utena? I'll be like, oh no. And I'll have to go back and fix that. But that's an easy fix. But yes, it should be there. But I want to talk with you all about manga to anime adaptations, because right now I'm looking at several on the channel. Not only we had Land of the Lustrous, we've had Trigun, but right now The Summer Hikaru Died is an adaptation from the manga, and it's on the channel. I'm looking at Orb starting this week on Patreon, and looking at it. So there's some manga to anime adaptations. And I want to talk to you all about it because I think it's fascinating and interesting. Trigun is so interesting to me because Trigun's a whiplash. No, Luca, I'm not joking. Someone in the comments one time, I think this was earlier in the year, they were like, hey, did you know that there's a video that's not supposed to be here? And I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah. Sunspots. Is Trigun the property with most different you have seen? I would say yes. Offhand, my gut instinct is to say yes. By versions, I was wanting to talk with you all about that, because I think of like Modao Zushi is a Donmai, a Chinese BL series. And with that series, I started out watching the Donghua, which is basically Chinese anime. I started watching that. And then when I finished it, I started to read the novel and do novel reactions at the same time I was listening to the audio drama. So it was like you got to read the chapters and then do the audio drama at the same time, which was a trip. And then there was a live action version of that series. So I would say Trigun and Modao Zushi have been the two series I've seen the most versions of that have been out there. I will say this, Trigun I appreciate more because Modao Zushi was essentially just a retelling of the same story from different modalities. So you could hear it through the audio drama, you could see it in the Donghua, you could read it in the text, and then the live action was a fun time because they had to censor certain things because the Chinese government doesn't believe that men can kiss each other, so they had to change things up. So that was interesting just for the fact of looking at adaptation and seeing what had to change to fit a certain audience or a certain medium. But I like Trigun more because I feel like with Trigun, it's not focusing on changing the content to fit the medium. It's how can we retell the story in different ways for different audiences, but still keep the spirit of it alive. And to me, that's fascinating. That's a sign of a cool franchise and an amazing author if you can take a story and retell it, but it has the same heart, but it reaches like different generations, different audiences. different kind of, I would say the genre is the same, but the 97 anime and Stampede are very different. So I think it's really cool. Mhm. And I love Vash so much. Vash is like one of my favorite MCs. I love Vash to pieces. And so to get to see, the version of him from 1997 and the version of him from 2023, and then see the manga version of him, like Naito is amazing. Naito is such a good author. He's so cool. And I honestly, one thing, the reason why I kind of wanted to do Trigun and Land of the Lustrous together in this chat is because looking at both of their creators, their mangaka are both really funny. Like the creator of Land of the Lustrous and Trigun, they're both really funny and they both have a very dark sense of humor, and it's very poignant and kind of like spiky sense of humor, and it's fun. And then they write these stories. They're like, "Oh, we're such funny people." And they write these stories that just gut you from the inside. And you're like, "Oh, cool, thanks." They're like, "We're going to pass our trauma onto you through our stories." And you're like, that checks out. That seems legit. That seems to make sense. But yeah, I will say this. Oh, hey, Be Happy. Hello. Oh, you're never late. You are not late at all. We've been talking about Trigun and Land of the Lustrous. Fun times. I will say this with Trigun Maximum, the story ended. The story ended with Trigun Maximum on a much happier note than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a lot more dark and brooding and serious in comparison to what led up to it. And then I was pleasantly surprised with its ending because I was like, oh, okay, we're going back to the heart of the series. This feels right. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it didn't feel cheap and it didn't feel like it wasn't earned. It was like, whew, you went through a lot and now you get to have a fun ending, and it harkens back to the spirit of the series as a whole. And I was like, that's awesome. Conversely, Land of the Lustrous starts out as this fun little happy, there might be some stuff going on, but it's still a good time. And it ends on this existential, philosophical, deep dive into the core of humanity and life itself. And I was left pondering my existence after reading Land of the Lustrous, and was like, oh my God, like it just a completely different ending, but it felt so justified. Both series felt so justified in how the mangaka chose to end them. And I was really happy with both of them. And Studio Orange, the Studio Orange connection, like Sunspot says in the chat, that both Studio Orange is now doing Trigun Stampede, and they've also done Land of the Lustrous, which I'm not going to dog Studio Orange because they've been working on Trigun Stampede or Stargaze, and I'm happy for that. But, I feel like the problem is Land of the Lustrous's anime ends right where it gets really good. And they never finished it and they never kept it going. And I'm like, but why? Especially now that the manga is finished. I would love if Studio Orange went back now that the manga's finished. Like, let them finish Trigun and get through that. But I would love if they would go back and do another season, because that series, and I don't know, the series is pretty risque. Land of the Lustrous is a pretty risque series, especially in some of the subject matter that it deals with. Some of the more, it's very subtle conversations that dive into some really hard topics. I don't know if Studio Orange doesn't want to tackle that, but I wish they would, because I feel like people are missing out if they don't read the manga for Land of the Lustrous, because it's incredible. It's so good. And the way you could incorporate sound into that, there's so much you could do with it. It would be absolutely gorgeous. As a Yona the Dawn syndrome, I feel really bad. I've had a lot of people ask about Yona the Dawn, and the studio took down my reactions, which is very saddening. And so I need to find another place to try to house them or figure out some way to incorporate and do it, because I want to bring those back. And I feel bad because I have gotten a lot of comments being like, oh, I wish there was a reaction. And I was like, I do too. So it's like on my little to-do list over here that like glares me in the face. And it's like, you need to do this. And I'm like, oh. So at some point, that's going to be on the list of things to do. And Sarah for the End. Yes, I actually have on my to-do list, Medela, that I have like a list of like extras I need to work on. Yes, this is Oikawa and Iwaizumi. But Seraph of the End, Volume 33, chapters 136 to 140, which I know that they're well past by now because it's been like 10 months. That's on my to-do list to get to as well in September. I want to get at least a Seraph of the End manga reaction in September done because it's been literally 10 months and I need to get back on that. But yeah, I talking about manga adaptations to anime, I have a lot of people that have requested over the last year or so for me to do manga reactions, to do like straightforward manga reactions and not do the anime first. So for example, there's probably like 5 I can name off right now that people have told me they're like, "Oh, you need to do the manga for that series, don't react to the anime." And I was like, "Okay." I always have been in the mindset when I pick out series to watch because I'm more of a visual person. I like watching anime. I enjoy it because there's so much extra to it, right? So just like with Land of the Lustrous, you have sound design, you have the animation, you have the voice acting. There's so much that can elevate a series if it's done right to make it really have this impact. And not to say the manga can't have impact because Land of the Lustrous is case in point. But I always like watching the anime first, not only because you get all those extra layers to it, but also because with anime and then the manga, I like doing that because I want to watch the there we go. Be happy, nailed it round the head. Watching the adaptation first and then the original material. Always. Growing up, and I will use this as an example. Growing up, I read a lot of books and then when I watched the movie adaptation of those books, I would get mad. I would be visibly mad because what would happen is I'd read the book. I would have an idea in my mind of who the actors are, of who the characters are, of what their voices sound like, and how the scenes play out. And then when you watch the movie or the anime and you have this in mind and it's not what you wanted, you get mad and you're like, well, that's not who I pictured playing them, or that's not how it is. Honestly, the only example I've seen of that has done it perfect is, in all honesty, the One Piece live action has nailed the cast. The cast members and the acting has nailed every character so far in that series. And it's kind of impressive. It's really impressive. But other than that, I've been so disappointed when I've read something first and then watched it and was like, oh, this isn't what I expected. So I tell people on the channel when they comment, I'm like, I kind of want to watch the anime first. And then if I've been told to, go back and read the manga. And so I've done that with a couple series. I did that with Berserk. For better or worse. I did that with Attack on Titan, which I'm really glad I did that with Attack on Titan, because Attack on Titan was a great way to watch the anime first and then go back and read the manga, and then you could see all the things that were left out or changed and go, oh, okay, well, why did they do that? And it gives you more to talk about, because then you can be like, oh, let's talk about this. Why did this change? And so I really enjoyed that. Okay, be happy. Harry Potter was the one that I was actually thinking of. Here's the thing, and I'm going to talk about Harry Potter just for a hot second, even though J.K. Rowling is trash garbage. So back when I was very young, probably in junior high, the Harry Potter movies were starting to come out. The first 2 movies are adapted almost beat for beat from the book. And they had Richard Harris playing Dumbledore, which he was the perfect actor, I think, to play him. And then sadly, he passed away. And that's why they had to recast him, which is really sad. But the first 2 Harry Potter movies I loved because they were very close to the book adaptations, even if they weren't inventive stylistically. And it was Christopher Columbus doing it, who did like Home Alone. He was like, I don't know, here's a Harry Potter movie. He at least was keeping to the book because I think he didn't stylistically know what else to do. And for me at the time, I was like, love it. Then the 3rd movie came out for Prisoner of Azkaban. And everybody praises that movie because it's very stylistic and it's different and it's unique. And as I'm older, I appreciate it a lot. But as a kid, where Prisoner of Azkaban was my favorite at the time when the books were coming out, I hated that 3rd movie when it came out in theaters because it wasn't like the book. They had cut stuff out, they had changed things, they had added things in. And as a kid, when I was reading, I was like, well, this isn't at all like the book. And so now as an adult, I appreciate it for what it is and what it does. But as a kid, I was very let down because I was like, oh, this isn't what I expected. And that experience has kind of motivated me to want to see the adaptation first and then go back and see the source material. Because worst case scenario, you look at the original material and you're like, oh, this was great. Cool. Here's all the things I missed. And you can talk about it. But worst, best case scenario is you've watched an adaptation that you really liked, and then you go back and you get even more out of the source material. Medela says it's better to have low expectations for your enjoyment. That is true. And that's why sometimes when people start hyping up a series, I tend to back off and stay away from those conversations, because I don't want to get too hyped up. Because if I go in with really high expectations and it doesn't meet up to those expectations, then I'm kind of let down. And that's only happened with one series that I've watched, but it was like very impactful. So I was like, let's not do that. Nicholas says, not to spoil, my favorite childhood books were Percy Jackson. Yeah, and the conversation about adaptation. Now, see, I grew up, I was the age where Harry Potter came out and I was the target audience. My younger brother, Percy Jackson, was like his Harry Potter, and that was the series that he was kind of targeted towards. And he has said the exact same thing. He does not like the Percy Jackson movies because he liked the books so much, and he doesn't feel like the adaptation has lived up to them. So I definitely get that. The changes were off-putting as a younger person. Yeah, as I've gotten older and I've seen kind of like behind the scenes and how people make films and the stylistic changes, I appreciate it more. I'm like, oh, that was cool. Alfonso Cuarón was the director for that film, and he did something really cool and unique with it. But as a kid, I was just like, I wanted this conversation to be exactly like the book, and you have in your mind how it's going to play out. And then when it doesn't, you're like, Douchik, hello. Do my big pink hand wave there in the chat as well. But yeah, so I would say that there's been some anime and manga that have been recommended to me. I've been told certain series that I need to just read the manga first and avoid the anime. And it's been pretty universal with like 3 series. And I was like, okay, with these 3 series, I think that there's been enough people be like, just don't do the anime, just go straight into the manga. And if you want to do the anime afterwards, you can. And I kind of trust they've been series that have been around for a while. One was Tokyo Ghoul, which my brother can confirm. He was like, yeah, I'd probably read the manga and not do the anime until afterwards. And I was like, okay. One that was very definitive, and I remember it was coming out on Netflix, and people were like, nope, read the manga. And I was like, okay, was Blue Period. And I get that because Blue Period is about artwork. I do know that much about it. And they were like, you need to see the artwork in the manga. The anime, in those people's opinions, didn't adapt it well enough. And I was like, well, if it's a series about artwork, then okay, I could buy that. And then the other one's been Promised Neverland, which if I ever do Promised Neverland, I will definitely probably read the manga first, but then I will do a reaction to season 2, because I want to hate watch that and laugh so hard, because I will probably laugh my ass off. I want to do that. So we'll see. I thought about just a video of Neverland at some point and then do reaction recordings and put them on Patreon. So we'll see. But yeah, to Be Happy's point, I have heard season 1 is good, and season 2 they're like, but I almost kind of want to. I think if I did Promise Neverland, I would watch season 1 as it is, do reactions to season 1, and then I would probably do a reaction to season 2 and be like, what is this? And then go back and read the manga is probably what I would do. But we'll see. But yeah, so as far as the manga versus anime, and I don't know, another thing I've noticed, the hate watch. Sometimes I feel like I would love to do a loathe watch. Hate is a strong word. A loathe watch would be something fun to do. Morales says, something I don't like is the format of adaptation, adapting a story in a movie when it would be better as a series. Oh, do you mean, I'm going to get close to the microphone here. Do you mean Haikyuu? I could rant a lot. I'm not a math person, but I did the math. I could rant. I will say, if we're talking about the whole movie adaptation thing, I think sometimes it works. Yes, thank you, Morales. I could rant all day. I could go on a tangent about Haikyuu. So peeved beyond the extremes. especially with yes. I will say that there are times when it's not a cash grab from a studio and it makes total sense and they can do it properly. So I'm going to, for example, I've only watched season 1 and season 2 of Demon Slayer. I know I need to get back into it at some point. It will happen. But I thought what they did with Mugen Train was very smart. They had it come out as a movie and it was during COVID. So people, you know, they were like, oh, we get to go see this in theaters. That's why I think that's honestly why it got so much money in Japan, because it was like the only movie playing and they were like, okay, got to go see it. But I feel as though they did a very smart thing where they had the movie come out and then they went back and they made it a series. So they made it a streaming series. So if you didn't see the movie, you could watch it streaming as a series. And they broke it up. They added some things in. They pieced it together to make it more like an anime than a movie adaptation. And that was really smart because you had your money from the movie and then you went back, and instead of being like chunked together to make this little film, they got to spread it out and make it a series and then go from there. I thought that was really intelligent. And I know they're doing that with Chainsaw Man. Before anybody asks, I am going to have to wait till the Chainsaw Man movie comes out into streaming before I can watch it. I'm mad about that too. So yeah, but I really thought the adaptation was well done. So with Demon Slayer, I think it worked. I think that it was, and it was a smaller arc anyway, so it would have been a short season. So making it into a movie made sense. So I thought that was well done. Be happy. I want to see the half full cup. It's sometimes better to have an adaptation than not at all. This is true, but my thing with Haikyuu is I'm frustrated with it because one, somebody had noted on the Discord the other day that Haikyuu, they just had like a mobile game come out that's really popular, making lots of money. So I get mad because I'm like, okay, studio, you have lots of money for this franchise. You just making a movie and calling it a day feels like a cheap cash grab, and you're not adhering to your audience or paying attention to the fans or the mangaka who's worked hard to create this series and delivering an adaptation that both the fans and the mangaka deserve. So I get frustrated about that. And the other thing is, it's like a lot of people may not read the manga, and then if they don't read the manga, they're missing out on parts of it that we, the audience that have read the manga, are like, but yes, you kind of, I don't know. I'm torn happy because on the one hand, I want to see things adapted, but if it's not going to be adapted well, it's like a Schrodinger's cat situation of, is it better to have a bad adaptation or not an adaptation at all? And I think Promise Neverland would be your answer to that question, even though the Haikyuu adaptations are not nearly that. And I've not even seen it, and I know it's not nearly that. But it is frustrating. Like Sunspot says, the greed is there. I want more content of the stories and the characters I love. Yeah. So I don't know. Oh, Eduardo, I was watching your latest Summer Hikaru Died. Don't know if you're aware, but Hikaru actually translates as light. Yes, I talked about that in episode 1. So yeah, and I only know that because I talked about that in episode 1's reaction. If you go back to that discussion, these two crazy cats that are up here for classmates, Daokyu say one of them's name is Hikaru, and that's where it means light. So yes. So that's how I knew. And I don't know if I'm going to talk about it in episode 4 or 5 of Summer Hikaru Died, but someone had pointed out that the professor in that series, his name is Hara, and the professor in Daokusei is Hara-san. So I think that they're paying homage to it. So yes. But yes, thank you so much. I do know that it means light. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, Hikaru. And honestly, Hikaru is the blonde that's in there. And then the dark-haired protagonist, Ryu, he looks a lot like Yoshiki. So I feel like the homage from Classmates is so in Summer Hikaru Died. I feel like the homage is there. I love it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like there's also the syndrome. We've talked about it a lot with BL and GL. So like with Bloom Into You, for example, with that series, there was one season of it and then they cut it. And I went and read the manga after the fact. And the manga is amazing. The manga where it picks up where the anime for Bloom Into You left off. And it's insanely good. It's so wonderful. And I was just like, oh, Why would you not adapt this? And then, you have like Cherry Magic, which I just finished up on the channel, the anime, and I'm going to be reading the manga because the manga's ongoing. So, and I get it. I get that, sometimes a studio, they do a season of a series and the manga's ongoing and they're like, okay, we're just going to leave it alone and wait a while. It's just frustrating for us, the audience that are fans of that series, when you see the manga get, like, for example, with Yona of the Dawn, that manga is nearly finished. Like the mangaka has said, we're like in the final arc and act. So it's like, why not start adapting now that it's about to end, because it's a really well-known, well-beloved franchise. But I don't work for these studios, so I don't know those things. So what do I know? Luca left to the left says Light Yagami or Hikaru Yagami. You know what? I think it's so funny that you mentioned that, because Miyano Mamoru, I just started Steins Gate on Patreon yesterday, and knowing that Miyano Mamoru is in that series is just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. And I Be Happy was the one to remind me that when I was watching Death Note, which Miyano Mamoru voices Light in Death Note, when I was watching that series, I was doing a reaction with the sub, and then I would go back and watch the dub, and then I'd come back the next episode and talk about what the dub had done, how it sounded, because the Death Note English dub is amazing. And so I started to do that with Steins Gate. I'm reacting to the sub, and now I'm going to go back and watch the dub episode before. It's kind of like the dub episode is a good review, because I can be doing something else and watching and listening to the dub and being like, oh yeah, that scene. And I can go back and rewind it and go back to it. And it's really good so far. The Steins Gate dub is amazing. I'm going to talk about it in a future episode, though. I'm very glad I'm watching the sub for Steins Gate for reasons, but we'll get into that in the episodes themselves. Oh, Unhinged Miyano Mamoru. Miyano Mamoru is my age. He's older than me. He is so youthful. He has kept his youth. He has a son who's like, what, 18 or 19 now? I cannot imagine being Miyano Mamoru's child and looking at your dad being like, my dad's Light Yagami, so yeah. My dad's Dazai, so yeah. Just, I cannot imagine what that's like. So kudos to them. That's awesome. But yeah. I will say this, when I do the top 20 anime at the end of the year, Land of the Lustrous, I'm deciding that I want to do a top 20 movies, a top 20 of anime that I've watched, and a top 20 manga that I've read. So I've got a lot of top lists that are going to go at the end of the year. And I honestly feel like with Land of the Lustrous, the manga is way up there. And the anime is not quite as up there for me, because even though it's a really good adaptation, because of where it ends, the manga just excels by going so further. Yes. Yes to lists. Yes, I have a lot of ideas. I've got like a Google Doc right now that have, like, I've been ranking all of the movies that I've been watching for the Patreon requests. I've been ranking all the movies. I've been ranking all the shows. I've been ranking all the manga as I read them. I've got to keep track. And we've actually gotten through, we're only halfway through the year, and I've gotten through a lot. So that's really exciting. That's going to be fun to do. And then, of course, I'll have to do the husbando and waifu bracket nominations later this year, because that's going to be fun. I'm going to probably put up to Patreon if they want me to do, if we want to do a husbando waifu bracket, or if we want to do like an awards show this year, and do whichever we want to do. I'll probably ask Patreon which they prefer, if we want to do sports bracket style, or if we want to do like Academy Award style. Because I'm good either way. I just will probably start planning all of those in November. I get too far ahead. I told Be Happy and Plore, the moderators, the other day, I'm like, I am so hyper organized. If I wanted to do it, I would just plan out the rest of the year, but it's too soon. It's too soon to do that. So yeah. So I would say, if you all have questions about Land of the Lustrous or Trigun, Maximum, you all can let me know in the chat at any time. But I'm very satisfied with Land of the Lustrous and Trigun Maximum. I'm so glad I read the manga. God, I'm so glad I read the manga, and I got to watch those series. Oh, Be Happy. Please be the judge to choose to avoid bias for the husband and waifus. Yes. Oh my gosh. So that was a learning process, because if you've been following my channel for a while, the first couple years that I've had my channel, I did a husbando and waifu bracket that was like March Madness style, because here in the US, we do March Madness for basketball. My family's always been big sports fans. So we were doing it to like narrow it down, and then I would pick the winners. And so I decided last year to try to do a kind of nomination Academy Award style thing where we picked the nominees and then we picked the winners. And picking the nominees wasn't the problem. Everybody had a really thorough, broad choice for the nominees. That part was fun. And there were some nominations that I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. That was a really cool choice. But then when it came to the winners, nobody got on the survey. Like only like 50 people got on the survey out of like 400 patrons. And then the 50 people that voted, they voted strongly and they picked the winners. And I was like, oh, so it's basically going to be Apuela Magi Monica Magica to win everything. And then Blue Lock. It was like Blue Lock and Monica Magica won everything. And I was like, not that I'm mad. Those two series are great. I loved them. But there was a Monica cult that came in. There tends to be cults that come onto the Discord and come to the channel. So democracy. There might have been a little bit of gerrymandering going on. There might have been some gerrymandering going on in the channel with the cults. Yeah, we've now got an orb cult that has started and the Dr. Pepper cult that has taken over Steins Gate. So I'm feeling very spiritual lately. I've joined a lot of cults. Seems like a fun time. So I will say that in Orb, I have gotten really into some religious talks in Orb, which has been not what I expected. It was not on my bingo card for 2025 to be having religious discussions in Orb, but there we are. So it's a fun time. The Dr. Pepper cult in Steins Gate. Nicholas, have you not watched Steins Gate? Oh, friend, you need to watch because just watch episode 1. Watch episode 1 and yes, everybody's been trying to hide from Nicholas that Dr. Pepper is involved in Steins Gate because Nicholas on the channel is the number one Dr. Pepper stan. Will say, just watch episode 1, Nicholas. That's all you have to do. Be happy trying to keep him out. Don't come. But yeah, so I'm really, really excited about what's about to be on the channel. I'm excited about the adaptations. I believe, if I am correct, one of the best feelings, though, if I'm being honest with everyone, and Truck is probably going to be like having their ears attuned to this, but I think if I am correct, and I don't know why I think this, I don't know if it came to me in a vision, Truck, but I'm thinking, is Orb's manga completed? Is it done? Is it over? Is the Orb manga is it a finalized thing? Is that a thing? I know Dungeon Meshi is pretty much done, and so they're just adapting. Ha! Do you want to know? I'm just saying that I believe Orb's manga is complete. I think that it is. And I was excited about that, along with, Dungeon Meshi's manga is done. I was excited about that because I like knowing that potentially if season 1 doesn't cover all of the manga, there's not going to be like endless things happening. And that's fair, Truck. I appreciate that. I appreciate you keeping me safe. Thank you very much. But like I think Dungeon Meshi, again, don't quote me on this. There's been some conflicting discussions online in the comment section, but I think Dungeon Meshi's second season is covering most things. So that makes me excited because that means that it's going to be like finalized. There'll be resolution. So if I don't get through all of Orb's manga in this one season, hopefully they do a second season if that's the case and to finish out, or if these 25 episodes covers the entire manga, that'd be great too. So I like that. I was telling Be Happy, I was starting to get into a lot of series. I started wanting to watch like some anime original series like Odd Taxi and Steins Gate because I was getting into the position where the completionist in me wants to keep reading the manga even after the anime is over, or I feel like it's just kind of hanging there and there's not things done. Like, for example, with Natsume's Book of Friends, I'm literally about to get into season 7 of that series on my channel, which is amazing and great. I've been watching that series for almost 2 years, which is mind-blowing. But I've had people say, like, are you going to keep reading the manga after season 7's over? Because there was a long time between season 6 and season 7. And I have to be like, no, because I really like the anime for Natsume's Book of Friends. and I know it's going to take forever before they do season 8, but one, 8's my lucky number, so I got to wait for season 8. But two, I'm kind of in the mindset of if I read the manga, then I may not want to watch the anime because you guys will already have seen my reaction to the anime. And I don't know how people feel about that. I've had people ask if I would react to season 2 of Hanako-kun, but I've already read the manga for it. So I'm like, it would be weird. And so I feel like if I went back and reacted to the anime, it would just to be to say that I did it, but it wouldn't be like I would have already known what's coming. So I agree with Sunspots. Waiting on the anime is worth it. It is. With Natsume, Natsume is an experience. Natsume, if we're talking about manga to anime adaptations, I like Midori Kawa's style of when she does the manga, and I like her writing a lot, but I love the anime so much because it takes that art and then it adds sound and it adds environment, it adds layers and it adds color, and it creates a more complete picture, at least with Natsume, and I don't want to read the manga and then have that ruined when it gets adapted. So, and plus Natsume, I cannot, because Natsume, without spoiling anything, does things out of order when it adapts. It adapts out of order in the manga to the anime. So I'm like, there's no way I could do that. So after season 7, I'll just have to wait until season 8 or any further Natsume content. And in the meantime, we'll have another poll for a really long series, and there's some contenders on that. And I have a feeling that's going to be a bloodbath. So that's going to be a bloodbath this fall, probably in time for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And that's going to be insane. So I'm really nervous about that poll. That poll's going to be crazy. But yeah, but adaptation it's such an intricate process. And I think it depends on the studio that adapts. I think it depends on preparing the shields. That poll is going to be wild. Maybe not. Maybe one series will just run away with it. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, adaptation is such an art form. And I think it also depends on the studio and what they choose to do. So, like, for example, with Attack on Titan, when Wit Studio adapted the first couple seasons and then they switched over to Mappa, people get resistant to change sometimes. And so I know people had some complaints about that, but I thought it was fine. I know people were kind of very torn about that adaptation. And then speaking of Mappa, we have Yuri on Ice, which I can't go a single live stream without mentioning and shedding tears, being like, just give it to another studio. Let them do it at this point. But yeah, I guess Mappa's kind of come up a lot in this discussion of manga to anime because they've recently done Rose of Versailles. I know they've done a modern adaptation of that, which I don't know if I would read the manga or watch the adaptation. I know they made like a 40 episode anime series a long time ago with Rose of Versailles. And now there's the manga, of course, and now they have this adaptation, but I think it's just a movie. And I'm like, how do you adapt 40 episodes into a movie from a manga that's so long running, unless they're just doing like one little story and adapting it, you know? The part they adapted was the hardest. Yeah, I thought Mappa did a fine job with Attack on Titan. I have no complaints with that adaptation. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it worked out great. I had no complaints. I thought they did a good job with it. Obviously, I'm mad because of Yuri on Ice with them. And then Ranma One Half. I talked about Ranma One Half in Danadan lately because there was a reference in that show to it. But I only know about Ranma One Half because of a Pokemon VHS that had a commercial for it that I rewatched like 1,000 times as a kid. And so I know a little bit about Ranma One Half from that minute 30 preview. But I was very curious why they decided to pick up that property and adapt it all over again. Cause I was like, it already had a series, just re-release that series, but maybe the licensing ran out. Lyndon, hey, hi, Lyndon, lurking in the shadows. The main thing that suffers in adaptations, in my opinion, are quiet characters. There's a lot of visual character building in manga that ends up getting cut for time when they make the anime. Oh, and then talking about, yes, with Mikasa. Oh my gosh, that's honestly a really fantastic point. I love that. Yes, I think that that's one of the problems with visual storytelling is that a lot of anime don't want to let things sit in silence. There always has to be, especially with modern anime. I can't say that though. I don't want to stereotype because I think some modern anime lets things sit in silence, and others are like, I think it depends on the genre, and I think it depends on the title, because I think some manga to anime keeps that silence in and uses it very effectively, and other series they're like, oh, we have to be go go go, and they lose characters like that. Or like if there's a panel of a character just sitting there, they cut it because nothing's happening, so they're like, oh, that's something easy to cut for time. um Honestly, I would say, to go with that, I'll talk about My Hero Academia for a hot second, because I've read a lot of the manga for My Hero Academia. That what I liked that Horikoshi did with that series, but it also became something to his detriment, is that I always felt that Horikoshi did not write for it to be an anime. He was writing the chapters to keep with the storytelling and keeping it flowing at his own pace. And the problem with that was, and I started noticing it in some of the later seasons, is that the animation studio, they would look at his work and go, oh, well, how do we fit this into a 23-minute episode? So let's cut out this part and let's move this part to a different episode, and let's do this and let's do that. And a lot of people got mad, I think, with it was season 4 or season 5 of that series, because they were like, well, all this stuff was cut and all this stuff was moved around. And I'm like, yeah, because the way Horikoshi wrote it, it doesn't fit into like a 24 episode season the way that the studio wants it to, which is not bad. I'm kudos to mangaka for thinking of writing their story the way they want to write it, but it does create an adaptation situation that I think if you don't look at it a certain way, you can get really frustrated by. Oh, I'm anime only for Chihaya Furu, but I've been curious how the manga handles Karuta since it's reliant on sound. So yes, that's a really good point, Devilesk. And I don't know because I've not checked out the manga either, but I'm really curious. It's funny because anime can really elevate things. Like something that's only a page in the manga, they may give like a 5-minute sequence to and give sounds and spread it out because the director or the animator sees a vision and they're like, oh, we could do something really cool with this. And I love that. I think that's awesome. So I don't know. And there's stuff, if we're going to keep on track with Trigun or Land of the Lustrous, there was stuff in both of those series that I felt on the page was just something very simple. But then the director was like, oh, but what if we did this with the sound and we expanded this and gave this wide shot and showed all these characters, and they made it so much more elevated and beautiful. So it can go either way. It really depends on who gets to direct it and how they handle it. And Truck, yes, I felt very frustrated with My Hero Academia with that one season. I think it was season 4 or season 5, one of those two. But I remember watching, and then when I go back and read the manga, I was like, oh, they took this out. Oh, why'd they do that? And that was how I felt with the latest Haikyuu movie, was with the Nekama match. There's stuff that was cut from the manga, little short quiet scenes like what Lyndon's talking about, that I thought were beautiful and added so much. And they chopped it because that movie was fast paced and we had to keep going. And I was like, and I get the pacing of it, but that's why you make it a series on TV and not a movie. So that you can have those moments, but anyway, be happy. The gym shattering is one of the most impactful sounds in Land of the Lustrous. Yes. And that's why I'm so sad that they haven't done a season 2 of Land of the Lustrous, because there's so many cool things with texture. Land of the Lustrous is about texture, and you have the gemstones, you have sand, you have liquids, you have like fluff, you have like all of these different textures you could work with, and sound design could be so amazing. And that's why when I was reading the last couple volumes of Land of the Lustrous, especially some of the big climactic things that are happening in that series, I was in my head going, God, this would be amazing if it was animated. Like the silence they could use, it would be so powerful. And oh, it made me mad. I was like, oh, I want to see this animated, but no such luck. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So yeah, I think anime to manga to anime adaptations, they're so neat. I think that anime originals, I've watched quite a few on the channel, and I think that there's, again, we talk about double-edged swords. I think, I'll talk about A Place Further Than the Universe in the last live stream I do, but I think one of the benefits it has is it wasn't restrained by anything. It could be its own series and do what it wanted and have its own pacing without having to take a source material and try to fit it into so many episodes, which, Medela, On that note, how do you feel about CGI in general and how Orange uses it for adaptations? Ooh, I I feel like CGI has been around a long time in animation, and it's been around and used in places that we maybe didn't think about. I am okay with it if it is used from the get-go and it's apparent from the get-go. Like, I'm not as big of a fan of if the CGI and the 2D animation are very separate and you can tell what's 2D and what's CGI. When they're very distinct, I don't think it sometimes flows together. And I think sometimes it looks clunky. It's kind of like if you watch a live action and suddenly there's like a 90s CGI scene, you're like, oh, that looks like 90s CGI. That's gross. Like, I think that that's when it's a problem. With Studio Orange, I'll be honest, when I saw Trigun Stampede's trailer, I was like, I don't know about this because I was so used to the 2D animation of the 97 series. But then once I watched the first episode and I got into it, I was like, oh, okay, I like what they're doing. And then they were able to do some really neat things with it. And I think that what Studio Orange does very well is that they show a lot of behind the scenes footage with the CGI. Because I think sometimes CGI gives off the impression that it's cheap, even though it's not, even though CGI is not cheap. I think it gives off the impression that it's lazy or cheap. And that's not the case with a lot of series, but it depends on how you use it. So I think that Studio Orange was smart in showing the behind the scenes. Here's how we did this with the CGI, and here's how we melded it with 2D animation, and here's what we did here. And that shows that they're not being lazy, that in fact there's a process, that they are thinking it out, that it is very intentional, and it kind of gives you that feeling of dedication that you expect in 2D animation to give it to the CGI as well. Psychopaths, yes, to agree with anime, to be the anime Annie, to agree with Be Happy, Psychopaths is one of the best anime originals. Love it. Truck says, I think CGI isn't too bad. It can do really gorgeous animations like Orange does, but regretfully, it's often used for budget saving and it gives it a bad name. Exactly. And I mean, I've only seen one scene of the 2017 Berserk, but I've seen the one scene and I was like, "Oh, uh-huh. Yep, you did that choice. Yes, yes." Like I said, I think you have to it's like anything. 2D animation can be cheap. 2D animation can look garbage, but so can CGI. So it depends on what the studio handling it does, how experienced they are, and I think it all comes down to dedication and passion. If you have an animator who is passionate and dedicated and believes in that project, then it's going to show on the page. If somebody slaps it together, it's going to show, right? It's obvious, when a CGI monster shows up in 2D. Yes. Medela, I always think of, I'll think of Disney's Hercules. Disney's Hercules is so good, but there are a couple of CGI moments in that series, like with the Hydra, that now I will say this, there's a moment with the Hydra where it's really well animated when all the heads start popping out. That's really good. But then there are other moments with the CGI in that movie that I was like, why is this here? That's weird. And so if you're a kid and you can tell that, then that makes a difference. I also think of like 90s live action, like horror or action movies that add like a random CGI. 1990s Combat, 1990s Mortal Kombat, where it's just like a CGI spine that Scorpio rips out or Sub-Zero rips out, and you're like, oh, okay. So if it looks like a 1990s video game, maybe not the best of uses of CGI, but people have elevated CGI so much, and it's blended with 2D animation in really innovative ways now, that I think that it can come across really well if it's done appropriately. Like Kyoani's done some really good stuff. Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Oh my God, the CGI cow. Broadcat, that has taken me back. Broadcat just like gave me a nostalgia bone to the face. Yeah, that CGI cow, horrendous. Horrendous. A CGI bloodbath. Oh man. Yeah, I just feel like CGI has to be done well, right? And as long as they don't go into AI, it's fine. I hate AI art so much. AI should be used to help your taxes and manage software coding. It does not need to be an artwork. It is soulless and it's just disturbing and weird, and I hate it. I'm like, ugh. If it could help with a process, then sure. But as far as creating things, no, 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 no. I have you all seen? This is off topic, but we're talking about AI. There, for example, when you talk about adaptation and animation, because I'm a big Drag Race fan, as you've probably known if you've watched my reactions. But the World of Wonder channel, they had done a short animated clip with two of the drag queens hosting these cartoon characters. And they were doing like, it was kind of like a Willy Wonka spinoff. And it started out with 2D animation and it was really cutesy and well done. And then it transitioned and the studio paid off for this AI portion of it. And it just devolved into just the most ugly, disgusting slop you've ever seen. They took it down, by the way. I've saved a clip of it on Twitter because I was like, I'm saving this. But they took the video down because it was so poorly received and people were complaining so much about it. And I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you were paying an animator? Why didn't you keep paying that animator to finish off the rest of your little movie and it would have been received really well? But nope, they did not. Be Happy says, I have no problem with CGI because in some situations it can save an adaptation, such as live action Domai that could struggle with a budget. Yeah, and I feel like, again, you can be resourceful and make it work. Like I'm watching Word of Honor, for example, and they've used CGI in it, and it's fine. Also, I think the genre and what you go in knowing will happen makes a big difference. Your expectations make a huge difference. So going into Word of Honor and the Untamed and knowing that they had limited budgets, when you see the CGI, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. It's like when you see a movie that you know they spent $200 million on, and then you see some really shitty CGI, and you're like, where'd that money go? That, then you start to question it, right? It can have a bad name from misuse. Yes. In the words of Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, just because you could doesn't mean that you should. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, so I feel really happy with what Studio Orange has done with Trigun, with Stampede. I feel like the 97 anime, honestly, I think Stampede shows a lot of respect for Naito's work and shows a lot of creativity. And honestly, as much nostalgia as the 97 anime has, and as cute as it is at times, it's funny. I think that I almost believe there was just as much care put into Stampede, if not more. I don't know. I just feel that way because they knew. I think that when they worked on Stampede, they knew this is a property that everybody knows. It's Vash, it's Trigun. People know it. It's been around for decades. You've got to treat it with care, or you're just finished. And like I talked about in my MomoCon video, I went to that convention panel that was about Trigun, and it was just about the graphic design of Stampede. This one guy was talking about just random graphic design work he'd done, and he'd done months and months and months of just putting billboards in the scenes and putting like signs on the doors and saloon and billboard posters and little graphic things that your eye doesn't even pay attention to when you're watching the episode, but when he paused it, you're like, oh wow, that's been there the whole time. He's like, yeah, I spent like 2 months on that. And you're like, oh, so it's just kind of cool to see that dedication. That made me going to that panel and seeing like this one person talk about something that was maybe 0.05% of the entire season, and they'd worked like years on it, made me really gain an appreciation for the animation team that worked on it and just all of the little tiny details that they thought to do. Because I'm like, they could have just had AI do it and it would have looked like shit and they could have done it, but they took the time to make it look good. So you have to appreciate that. Could you give us a little, top 5 characters for Trigun and Land of the Lustrous? Oh, Trigun will be easier than Land of the Lustrous. Well, maybe it won't, but maybe it will. Top 5 for Trigun. Number 1 is Vash. I'm very boring in terms of that response. Number 1 has to be Vash. It has to be. Vash in Trigun is the most inspiring character of that series. I've seen the Trigun Stargaze poster where it's like Live to Suffer. And I'm just like, oh, I just get so excited because I'm like, you can do so much with Vash and his mission and his personality. And he is literally anime Jesus. So he's literally, or maybe Wolfwood is, who knows? But yeah, Vash, you can do so much with. And I love his character so much. And I'm so excited. That poster that's like all red and black showing his like profile. Oh, I'm like, Stargaze, do not let us down. So he'd be my number 1, without a doubt. absolutely Vash is. Number 2 is Wolfwood. Again, uninspiring. Has to be Wolfwood. Wolfwood is outside of Vash, Wolfwood is the most influential character in that whole damn series. Not just because of what he does, but how he influences other characters as well. And not just Vash, but like he influences like 5 characters to make big decisions. And Wolfwood's like, who, me? Like Wolfwood's such a great character, and I have no clue how Stargaze is going to treat his character. I hope they treat him kindly. I'm probably going to cry and be very sad, but I love his character so much. Outside of Wolfwood and Vash, it gets a little harder for 3, 4, and 5. I would say, honestly, after reading Trigun Maximum, I would say that my number 3 character is Livio. Livio is watching the 97. Again, this is why adaptation is so fun with Trigun, because the way Trigun does it, you have the 97 version, you have Maximum, you have Stampede. Sunspot is like success. So yes, but honestly, what I really like about Trigun is that, if I just watch the 97 series and just watch Stampede, I probably would not have Livio in my top 5, but Maximum does such a good job with his character, and his character's so deep, and it's not really until the end of the series that he really gets to shine, and you're like, oh my God, they're doing so much with him. I love Livio to pieces, and the last 3 volumes of Maximum made him like carve this little spot in my heart next to Vash and Wolfwood, and I was like, I just love them to pieces. They're so, so good. I'm really excited to see what Stargaze does with Livio, because I'm like, you have a whole open palette. You can do whatever you want with his character, and I'm like, I hope that they do what they do in Maximum with him, because it's just so good. Number 4, I would say number 4 is Meryl. I love Meryl to pieces. I mean, Knives and Elendira are up there as well, and Millie's up there, but Meryl was like one of my favorite characters from the start. Honestly, I love Meryl in the 97 and Stampede versions. I think maybe a little more than Maximum, because she gets a little bit more of a spotlight in those series, but I love Meryl to pieces. Her little derringers on her coat. I love her and Vash's relationship. I love her character story. I love the journey that Meryl goes on to accept Vash and understand him. I would probably be Meryl if I was in the Trigun universe, so she has to be my number 4. She's really good. And then number 5 is a toss-up. I love Elendira to pieces. Elendira is queen. Elendira is bae. Elendira is everything imaginable that's wonderful about Trigun. But so is Knives. Knives is such a diva. Knives is such a diva. I'd probably give Elendira honorable mention, because I think that Elendira shines the best in Maximum, but in the 97 version, and is she even in the 97 version? Is she? I don't think she is. And then in Stampede, she has a role so far, but could be expanded upon in Stargaze. But Elendira would be my honorable mention. But Knives is such a good villain. Knives is such a good damn antagonist. He's so good. He's such a diva. He's a great foil for Vash. And Legato's up there too. Legato would be probably my number 7 under Elendira, but I got a lot more respect for Legato in Maximum as well. Although it did shatter my ship with Legato from the 97 anime. I had Legato shipped with Mid Valley in the 97 anime, and then Maximum was like, I don't know about that. Just so good. Knives would explode at being in 5th place. Good. That's what he gets. He gets on the opposite end of where Vash is. He gets to be number 5 to Vash's number 1. He would explode and probably come at me, and I'd be like, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. It's amazing because Stampede, their merchandising and their marketing, they have some merchandise of Knives Out that makes him look like the cutest little puff marshmallow. And I'm like, this is a murder child. This is a murder plant. This is dangerous. And you have him as this cute little plush, but what can you do? So yeah, those are my top 5. I would give honorable mentions to Legato and Elendira because they deserve it. So, you're gonna have me do Land of the Lustrous too, though. Oh, buddy. Here's my thing. My view of characters in Land of the Lustrous, from the anime to the end of the manga changed completely. Changed completely. I had favorites picked out in the anime, and then by the time I finished the manga, I was like, I have completely changed my mind about every single character in this series. Every single character in this series completely changed my mind. I'm actually going to pull that up right now. From the whole story, everything changed. I want to make sure I don't forget anybody because it has been a little hot second since I've seen Land of the Lustrous. But I want to get the characters down and make sure that I say everybody's names right for my top 5. Oh man. Ooh, I'm gonna have to go from 5 to 1 on this one. I feel I'm gonna have to do from 5 to 1, and I'm gonna miss. There's so many good characters though. There's so many in Land of the Lustrous that are amazing. I'm gonna leave somebody out, and then I'm gonna feel really bad about it. But and here's the thing too. My favorite with Land of the Lustrous, there were some characters that just drove me crazy and made me mad. They're great characters, but they pissed me off in the story. And now I'm like, does that mean that they were really good characters? But I have to go with my favorites. So, okay, we're just gonna start out number 5 and just go from there. I would say my 5th one. I have a top 2. I have a top 2 that I don't think are gonna change. But I'm gonna have to do I guess 3, 4, and 5. You could probably mix and match depending on what you want to do with that. So it's like, I would say number 5 is Bort. I liked Bort a lot. Bort was one of my favorites. Bort's design I was obsessed with. I love Bort in their design, and I love that them and Diamond were played off as the couple because it's like the black and white, and then like Diamond is a little bit more like plump and feminine, and Bort is like tall and thin and narrow. Like I really like that dynamic for two characters. Bort is my number 5. I liked Bort even had a character arc in the manga, which was amazing, and I liked by the end of the series where Bort's character was. But here's the thing, by the end of the series, y'all that have read the manga know what happens. So it's just like, it's like, oh my God, like, what do you do? So what do you do with these characters that you fall in love with? And then all this stuff happens to them. But yeah, Bort's my number 5. I liked Bort a lot. I would honestly say from there it gets a little bit hard. Number 4, I would probably 4 and 3. I'm really going back and forth on, which is so frustrating. I honestly, you know who kind of surprised me, and I want to find out. Euclays. Euclays, right? Is Euclays the one? Remind me of this. Euclays was the one trying to get everybody to get along by the end of it. Correct? Am I right in saying that? That Euclays was trying to get everybody to get along. Is that correct? Yes. That Euclays was trying to be the peacemaker and get everything together. I believe that they were. But Euclays, I thought that they played such a interesting role because they started out just kind of being this character out to the side that's just like got a happy personality, and they're like everything's chipper and fine. And then by the time that things really escalate in the series, they were trying their hardest to get things to all work out, and then of course it failed miserably. But yeah, I was like, okay, but I ended up rooting for them so much in the series. I wanted things to go well between them. And then it's hard because there are all these gemstones that I really liked throughout this that had lots of development and character growth and changes. My number 3 would be Cinnabar. And I think that Cinnabar carried throughout the anime, and then I really loved Cinnabar up until a point. And y'all know what the point is. Up until a point, I liked all the gemstones. And then at one point, the manga just goes, well, now we're going to do this. And it's like, oh, and it's so heartbreaking. But I had all of these expectations for how Cinnabar and Foss's relationship was going to go and what was going to happen with Cinnabar. I think Cinnabar would have been higher if things that I expected to happen to them would have happened, but it didn't. And that's the only thing I can say without spoiling everything. But yeah, Cinnabar would be my number 3. Honestly, my number 2 is Congo. I fell in love with Congo. Like I went on such a journey with Congo. And y'all know if you watched me watch the anime, I was so suspicious of Congo. I was mad at him. I was suspicious. I was like, oh, you're an authority figure. I'm going to write you off, which I think I was just projecting from Heaven Official's blessing when I was watching the series. But the sensei, the great and terrible sensei, he completely won my heart over by before all things got bad, you know. If you thought this was a happy end, you weren't paying attention. And like Tyrion Lannister says, if you're expecting a happy ending, you've come to the wrong place. Like just So I really, up until the very last volume of with Congo in it, I loved his character and where it went, and I felt so sorry for him. I felt so much sympathy for him and the mystery surrounding him and how much he could control and couldn't control. I could relate to him in a lot of ways. He just, I absolutely ended up loving his character, and I felt really sad about where that character ended up at. So, my number one, I mean, y'all can take a hot guess, but I think you all know who my number one character is. And this character, I have not gone on a roller coaster with a character in a series for a long time. But the funny thing is, the last time I went on a roller coaster with a character, I didn't like that character by the end. And this time I loved their character by the end, and that was freaking Foss. Freaking Phospholite. I have never watched, I've never to this day read a manga where I have been yes, be happy, you know it. I would say Attack on Titan and Land of the Lustrous are two series I never thought would be connected in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, the funny thing is in Attack on Titan, I started out really liking Aaron's character, and then about halfway through, I was like, I don't know how to feel about you. And then by the end of it, I was like, you're an idiot. So I maintain that, even though it's an affectionate idiot with Aaron. But with Foss, I loved Foss. I loved their innocence, their like just wide-eyed, bushy-tailed like view of the world. And then they started getting depressed and they started going down this path. And I was like, and you're rooting for Foss to get out of it. You're like, oh no, come on, Foss, you can do it. And then as the manga goes on, Foss goes down this horrible rabbit hole, and I was getting so pissed off at Foss. I was like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? And I got so mad at Foss. And then it all comes back full circle. It all comes back full circle. And I not only felt really bad for Foss, but you could see some of yourself in Foss. You felt like why they were the way that they were. You felt bad for them and the way they were treated. And then the very end, just all, there's no other way to describe it. I was really moved by Foss. And yeah, no way, Foss. I mean, I don't know who else it would be. It's one of those things where I can't think of another character that had that much impact on me and my view of the story than Foss. And it's one of those things where I was really mad at Foss's character, and then by the end, I fell back in love. And I was like, I gotta respect it, if anything. I mean, I wanted more for other characters, but Foss is the one that just came full circle. I was like, damn, it's really good. Yes. So Foss's decision at the end is the polar opposite of Aaron, which is fascinating and tragic. Yes. That's kind of the thing, is that both characters, I mean, the thing about Vash in Trigun, and I love Vash, is that throughout all of the renditions of the story that Vash is in, you know what his point of view is, you know what choices he's going to make, and you watch him get tested and see how he's going to overcome being tested. And that's kind of the appeal of Vash, is that you know he's going to make this moral decision, but it's like, how is he going to get there? With Foss, both Foss and Aaron in Attack on Titan get put up with these horrible no-win solutions, these no-win choices, and they make very different decisions, and they both kind of get the rewards from those decisions. And I just thought Foss's was insanely powerful. Not to say Aaron's not insanely powerful. And I look back on Aaron very fondly. I affectionately call him an idiot. And I look back on his character and just shake my head and go, those were the days. But Foss, you just like cry over what they've done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was wild. But yeah, I will say the only character that I still do not like in Land of the Lustrous, I hate the prince. I cannot stand him. I know that was such a contesting thing in Land of the Lustrous where everyone was like, "Oh, but the prince, but he had all these reasons." I was like, "I don't care." I was like, "I don't care. I don't like him." Nope. I was like, I was not gonna, yeah, I was shocked. I was like, no, the prince, no, Hmia, I cannot, no. I just, everything I don't like about humanity was represented through him. And I think that that was just like, no, no, not gonna be there. So, but he was a very good villain, a very good antagonist, not necessarily a villain, but an antagonist. And one thing about Land of the Lustrous is kind of that the villains of the series can be ourselves. And I think that that's something that's really powerful about that series is that it's portrayed that there's an overarching like good versus evil, but in reality, once you dive into it, it's like, no, there really isn't. It's just you versus yourself, all the time. Oh, oh, yeah. Well, he was at the same time as Utena. Even then, what a weird. Somebody commented the other day. They're like, "Remember when your channel was in the dark ages?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, I know, and I can't do the prince. No, I can't do him. Just can't. The real villain was Ichikawa's PS5. Here's the thing. My one student that I coached, she was a huge fan of Land of the Lustrous. And when I was starting the anime, I saw that she had an art book. And I was like, oh, I want to look at that when I'm done with the anime. And she showed me like pictures of the mangaka's like author's notes when each chapter was released. And then they're like, so a year went by after she got that PS5. I was like, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. If I got back into playing Pokemon, I probably wouldn't be doing nearly as many reactions as I am. So I get that. But hello. Wynolja E2050. Hello. Glad you caught the stream. So yeah, but I mean, I really like Land of the Lustrous. And the thing about it is Land of the Lustrous is such a series that's so open, not only to interpretation of the characters and which characters you like, but they're also relatable that you can see parts of yourself in them. And they reflect, as gyms do, parts of you. And so it's kind of fun to see what people choose as their favorite characters because I think we can all find characters we really appreciate. I related most to Cinnabar, but I wish that they'd done more with Cinnabar. But with the story, it makes sense. It all makes sense at the end there. But yeah, so I love Land of the Lustrous and Trigun so much. I'm sad that Land of the Lustrous is done because I don't know if they'll do a second season of it. But I'm excited that Trigun still has time left to be animated for Stargaze. So I don't know what questions you all have left to go. I know this stream is only an hour and a half in, but I don't know what questions you all have about Trigun or Land of the Lustrous or about the channel in general since we've reached this point. I'm glad you all have been here to watch the stream. That's really exciting. I do want to do one more stream. It will probably be the 24th. It will probably be at night. So I know some of you that are like on European time zones or wherever may not be able to see it, but I will put it up onto Patreon when the stream is over, and I will have more. I'll have it posted obviously in the live streams on YouTube that people can go back and watch. But I'm glad that my internet's okay today because last week or 2 weeks ago when I did Utena, it was having some issues. So hopefully I think that's just honestly in the morning. I feel like I have the most internet issues in the morning. So I just need to kind of get that in line and do whatever. But yeah, if you all have any other questions, we'll do that stream. The last one for the fall, which will be the 24th, will be a place further. Oh, any topics for that live stream other than place further in the universe? I want to talk about Cherry Magic. Sunspots. I want to talk about Cherry Magic. I want to do that. I want to talk about a place further than the universe and Cherry Magic. I want to talk about that with a little bit of adaptation commentary on those two series, and about tropes. Maybe talk about anime tropes. That live stream that might be fun. At night betrayal. Oh no, I know. We'll see. I might do a poll. on Patreon to see if y'all want a 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. I'm probably not going to do a morning one though, because I don't think it will work out. And plus I sometimes have to go help feed at the farm in the mornings. And so when I was doing the Utena one, I was a bit rushed that morning. So I might wait and I'll ask Patreon if they want me to do a 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. stream for that one. But yeah, I want to talk about Place Further in the Universe and Cherry Magic as well. What are the shows you are most excited to watch from the new ones and also the ones that are most recommended at the moment? Oh, okay. Well, we can talk about that. So, yes, please poll if you can. Okay, Sunspots, I will poll on that one to see when people can tune into that the most. I will poll on that one for sure. I would say, here's the thing. We had a huge turnover in July and August for new shows, which is the most my channel's ever had at once. So, I know Shimayama, Japanese time zones, the time zones. But when I was doing the math and figuring out when the next time we'll have a big turnover is, there's going to be in October. We're going to be catching up to Odd Taxi in October, Dan to Dan, and Summer Hikaru Died. Like those three will be caught up around October, which is, it seems far away, but it's crazy to think about that it's going to be that soon, which is wild. Now, with Odd Taxi, when that series is over, I've already decided, because that's the Friday show, and so that's the Romania's Choice slot. I've already decided the series is going to replace that. I've already decided it. It's already happening. It's a series that has nearly won I don't know how many polls in the last year, and it needs to happen. And I'm tired of waiting on it because I've wanted to watch it for a long time, and it can't win. So I'm just going to have to pick it and make it work. So that one's already done. But Dan to Dan and Summer Hikaru Died are the other two polls. And what I was thinking was, for Summer Hikaru Died, I kind of want to keep doing like a romance, a BL or GL series for that one. So I'm probably going to be going through the series that have been picked before. I have some in mind that would fit that category because I feel like after getting through Summer Hikaru Died, we're going to need some romance in our lives. But yes, a Romania's Choice slot. Well, it might involve breaking and wind and stuff like that. I don't know. It might involve that because it needs to happen. So yeah, but as far as the other slot goes, oh yes, Twilight Out of Focus will definitely be on the Summer Hikaru Died replacement poll for sure. But as far as the Dan to Dan one, I kind of wanted to do a series that had been kind of hyped up and recommended that were new, because once Natsume's Book of Friends is over, we're going to look at some older shows. So I know the ones that have been recommended the most are To Be Hero X. So that one's been recommended. Lord of Mysteries has been recommended. Those are probably the two biggest ones, but I didn't know. I actually wrote it down. Let me pull it up, which ones I had on there, because you know me, I would have a whole bunch. I had Lord of Mysteries, To Be Hero X, Togepi's Original Sin, and Lazarus. And I only put Lazarus on there because I'm just curious about it. But Kaiju 8 had been one that had been recommended a lot as well. But I don't know. Lord of Mysteries, Togepi's Original Sin, and To Be Hero X have been the most recommended new series. I know Kaiju 8 had been one on there too. So I don't know. I may just keep it between the three of them. They've been really popular. So after Dan to Dan, I might just do Lord of Mysteries, Takapi's Original Sin, and then To Be Hero X, and let those three duke it out and just see what happens. So that's my plan anyway. But yes. Yeah. And then I also had on here, there's been a lot of series that have illiterate names that I was like, more stuff using polls. Oh, right. Yeah. There's also been a lot of series that have alliteration in their name, and the English teacher in me gets really excited by that. So there was, I had a poll that, later on, I think once some of these series get out of the way, I wanted to look at, there was Dead Demons, Day to Day Destruction, Blood Blockade Battlefront, Brave Bang Bravern, Ku Kansatsu Ka, Decadence, Ron Kamanahashi, Deranged Detective, The Count of Monte Cristo, Kill la Kill. There's been like a bunch of series that are just like all illiterate names. And I'm like, what is this? So it's just crazy. But yes, Blood Blockade Battlefront. The bees. I don't know if you're talking about Brave Bang Bravern or Blood Blockade Battlefront. I know that Blood Blockade Battlefront, I think is the same. I think it's Naito. I think it's the same creator, either Blood Blockade Battlefront or Brave Bang Bravern. One of those two is done by Naito, which is the same as Trigun. So I don't know which one it is, but I know one of them is. Yeah, I've had a lot of people recommend the Monte Cristo anime, the Gan Kutsuo. I've had a lot of people recommend that one over the last year or two. Which I know the kind of Monte Cristo. I should have read that book. I have that book. I've not read it all because it's so huge. So I was like, maybe watching the anime will be the way I can do it. So I don't know. The alliteration poll will probably come after whatever replaces Dan to Dan. So we'll probably wait till it'll probably be 2026 before we get to that. But but anyway, there's so many anime and so little time. BBB and BBBB, Blood Blockade Battlefront and Brave Bang Bravern. Why is one 4 Bs and one's 3 Bs? So curious. Okay, the Blood Blockade Battlefront is the Trigun authors. Thank you, Shimoyama. That's why I was like, okay, Naito's work is that. Yes, that makes sense. But yeah, so that's what I got going on. And then of course I always have a list of like series that have multiple seasons. So then I know that Free Rent is coming out in January of 2026. So that will be on the channel when it comes out, which is crazy. And then we'll have Trigun Stargaze, which will come out, and then Dungeon Meshi when it does, and Skip and Loafer. So there's lots of sequel seasons that will come out in the next year or so, and I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah. So I am very, very excited about the rest of this month. Hello, Bestial Moon. That's all right. Definitely you can go back and see the rest. It's been a very random live stream today. I've had like a mild headache throughout the day, and so I probably should have been more organized than I was going to be today, but I feel a little bit better now. So, and talking with you all makes me feel better. So that's good too. Have you seen Land of the Lustrous 2D promotional video? 3D was the obvious choice in comparison. Yes, I think so. I want to say someone in the Discord shared, maybe it was Frank Ace shared it, but someone shared that video that was the 2D promotional video, and I saw it, and I absolutely agree. I think that 3D was the better choice. Yes, I think it was Frank Ace because they're an artist and they were showing it to me, and I agree because the way that they did the gemstones, it was so much work and it was so elaborate, but it really paid off. Like the way that they did the 3D modeling with the gemstones was so beautiful and so good. And so, yeah, I think that that's one case, like we talked about CGI earlier. I think it's one case where the CGI really was a benefit because you could do so much with the 3D modeling and the fact that they were gems to make that come alive even more. So I really liked that. But yeah, no, it was a really cool video. It's neat to see like the behind the scenes with that. Thank you, Bestial Moon. I know having a headache is it's never a migraine, but it's just enough to make you go, ugh, and feel gross about it, But yes, with how the manga used negative space, I felt like the anime version needed a visual style that stood out so much like that. Yeah, I would agree. The manga, if they adapted it, it would be really interesting to see what they do, especially on the moon, to see what they would do with some of those parts. So I don't know how they would do that. I feel like there's a lot of creativity that you could see with that series involved in it, but I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know what they would end up doing with it. That's what I want to see the second season, to see what their choices would be. So yeah. But yeah, I am so excited about August, y'all. I'm so happy y'all came to chat with me briefly about Trigun and about Land of the Lustrous. I wish I felt just a smidgen better, but then my mind might be more focused. But I really appreciate everybody coming in and talking with me for at least it's been an hour and 37 minutes. There might be, hello, a little bit of time for a few more questions. Ruby and Huckleberry like on either side of me. Also be happy I have your Urimichi Onisan blanket here that has been aiding me all summer if I felt slightly cold, which has been great. But yeah, so I am going to be working on Cherry Magic and the manga review for the month that will come out. Yes, of course, that will come out later this month. And hopefully by the time I do, I think it's going to come out before the live stream. My plan is to have the manga review for volumes 1 through 7 out before the live stream on the 24th. So then we can talk about it there, which will be fun. Oh no. Yeah, organize my thoughts. Yes. By all means, if you get a chance to comment down in this live stream after you organize your thoughts, I would love to talk about Land of the Lustrous more, because that series is so crazy. It's so good. But this entire month is so packed. There's no show, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, there's no show that I'm not happy about. They're so exciting. Oh, okay. Well, here's the question about Chainsaw Man. I cannot react to the Chainsaw Man movie because I can't sneak my camera and equipment into the theater. So I have to wait until it comes out on streaming. So I am going to react to the Chainsaw Man movie, but it will have to be when it's on streaming, which will probably be next year, which is really sucks and is really sad, but I don't know any other way to do it unless somebody gets me a version of it to watch, but I think it'll be taken down if that happens. So I don't know. But yes, I'm excited about the Cherry Magic manga. I'm really excited to get into it. Oh, I saw 25 video that themes of the chairs and Land of the Lustrous. That's interesting about the theme of the chairs. Yeah, that's really curious. I mean, we talked about it in the discussions about what they possibly can mean, but it makes me think of, I think we compared it to Puella Magi Monica Magica and that use of chairs in that series. Oh, lore question. Have we ever dropped a show before? Oh, what things you specifically don't like? Oh, uh-huh. So, oh yes. But yes, when it streams, yes, I am going to look at the Chainsaw Man movie when it streams. 100%. I've been foaming at the mouth for more Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man things. So yes. To answer your question, Broadcat, I actually talked with the mods about this. I have not dropped a show before. There were 3 that I considered, but I went through with it. Huckleberry, what are you doing? Just growling over there. There were 3 that I considered. 2 of them were only because of, well, no, actually, there was 4. There's 4 I considered. So there's 3 of them I considered taking a break from, but not dropping. Berserk for reasons. Yeah, 4. There was Berserk and Revolutionary Girl Utena and Scum Villain Self-Saving System. Those 3 series I considered taking a break from because they dealt with the main character getting involved with some triggering content that I personally could relate to and was not very comfortable with. And I decided to not take a break, and I decided to go through with it and power through. And I don't regret that decision, but that decision taught me that from here on, I talked with the mods about content that contained that triggering content that I maybe would not want to react to in the moment. Because when I do reactions, you all see me. I watch a show, you get my reaction in time in the moment. And then I usually the time between when that reaction ends and when my discussion begins is less than 5 minutes. Like I may go take a break and go get a drink of water, or I may go use the bathroom, or I may bring Whiteboard Coon over and get him set up. But usually the discussion happens like within 5 minutes of me watching that reaction, because I want to immediately dive in and talk about it. But those 3 series in particular showed me that if there's subject matter like that, I, 1, kind of want to know ahead of time to prepare myself. But 2, if it's something that occurs with the main character, then I don't know if I was in a good place to react to that series, you know? Now the other series, the 4th one, is probably answering your question, which is, have I dropped a show before? I almost dropped a series because I'd be happy spoiling it in the chat. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, the last one was 86. And here's the thing about 86. That was definitely a myriad of things happened with that series, because it's not a bad series. It really is not. It is not a bad series. It is not worth dropping. But here's what happened with that series. 1, everyone, for once I spoil stuff. 1, I was told when I started that I had been recommended 86 for a long time, for a couple years. And when I was recommended 86, I was coming off of Attack on Titan, which Attack on Titan is one of my favorite series of all time. I love that series. It's amazing. If you've seen my reactions on that channel, I went to hours and hours and hours of discussion. It's so layered. Isayama's brilliant. I loved it. And when I was getting recommended 86, I was told that it was the next Attack on Titan, that it was the next coming of Attack on Titan. It was just as good. Some people even said it was better than Attack on Titan. And I was like, you shouldn't tell somebody you shouldn't tell somebody that a series is better than their favorite series if the show isn't going to back it up. It was very overhyped, and it's not a bad show, but I kept watching the series waiting for that moment that it lived up to the hype, that it lived up to the hype. And yeah, like you said, Broadcat, it's a mind killer. And I was just sitting there going, okay, well, when's this going to happen? And then I just kept getting like kind of underwhelmed by it. And by the end, there were some plot things towards the end of the series that I was just like not jiving with and not gelling with. And I started getting mad. And then it kind of became a hate watch. And I really should have just stopped. But I powered through and I was just griping about it by the end of it. And I didn't like being in that mindset. If it's one thing to go into a series and kind of expect that you're going to kind of loathe watch and make fun of it and do it for the lulls. Like when I did Death Note, the live action adaptation, I knew that was going to be a shit show and it was going to be a lot of fun to make fun of. And so I went in there expecting to have a good time talking smack about it. But then when you start getting mad about a show and you're just like, then it's not fun anymore. I've seen sometimes relating personally like that can sour a show or provide a backdrop to reflect and give a really good insight. Yeah, it is. I think for me, better subjective. Yes. I think for me, the subject matter is SA, just for the record. And if you've had a personal experience with it, there are times if I knew about it ahead of time, and I've told the moderators this, if the triggering subject matter happens to like not the main character, but like an extra character that's meant in the story to be someone you reflect upon, and that this thing happens to them, and you're like, oh, let's talk about it. I react to that differently, but when it's the main character, and I think in the 3 stories that I read, I don't think that the subject matter in the moment was handled how I would have liked it to be handled. And so that had a big impact on it as well. All right. Lyndon, ranking it below Arcane on your anime list when Arcane isn't even anime. Hey, it's animated. It's animated, Lyndon. But yeah, I had to. I was just like, no, not for me. No. But I honestly, I've softened a little bit with 86 over time. I look back on some things and I'm like, it's a fine series. It's okay. It's just, here's the thing about it. I am a character driven person. When I watch a show, I am here for the characters and the character development. And 86, that is not its MO. It is about different things, but that's not its MO at the end of the day. And I think that made a big difference as well. And the comments, yes. And so that was my thing too. It created this big cyclical system where I would get frustrated with something and I would criticize it, but the people in the comments section were diehard 86 fans. And so when I criticized something, they were like, well, that's a dumb opinion, actually. And then like the glasses would get pushed up. They're like, actually, what you don't realize. And I'd be like, okay. And then the last thing you want to be told is that you're wrong and that you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, why are you here? It was just it became this cycle of negativity and it bummed me out. And so there was a time when like 86 Berserk, Utena, and yeah, Berserk, Utena, and Scumvillain were happening at the same time on my channel, and everybody was like, we're in the dark ages. It was just such a my mental health was not having a great time during those series. I think if I'd watched them one at a time, it would have been a lot better, but Romania's mental health was not a good place. And the moderators were like, hey, we're going to talk you off this ledge. And I'm very thankful that they did. I'm very thankful for Be Happy Implore, because I was not in a good place, especially toward now. I feel like when time has passed, now with Scumville, we did the live stream about it a few weeks ago. Now I can talk about Scumville and it's fine. I can talk about it. Utena, we just did that live stream a couple weeks ago. It's fine too. And honestly, Berserk, I'm looking forward to volume 43. I'll be very upset when we get to volume 43 because it's probably gonna be very sad, but I'm excited for volume 43. I can't wait to read Berserk. I really can. How do we handle multiple shows with multiple seasons? Do we pull per season or do we go in for the lot? Oh, that's a really good question. So here's the thing. When I started the channel, broadcast, that's such a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Because that's a really important question to ask. When I started the channel, the completionist mentality in me was like, oh, I want to do everything all at once. And so, like Natsume's Book of Friends, I'm about to start season 7 in September, and I've been doing that whole way front and back. With sports anime, I usually would do multiple episodes per week because in sports anime, y'all know the pacing, especially if it's a long sports anime, sometimes things get drawn out. So you need to kind of watch multiple episodes at a time. But I did talk about this in one of the previous live streams. If, for example, a series like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure wins, which it very well could, we had talked about the idea of reacting to arcs at a time. So like JoJo's Bizarre Adventures part 1 and part 2 I would watch, and then we do a poll to see if people wanted me to go on to the next one or watch something in between. And I think with a long series like that, I would maybe do that. But I don't know how long Monogatari is, how long super long is, but it all depends on the genre too, because you have like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has arcs, so you can cleanly split them up. But then if you get a series like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which I know is like 100 or so episodes, but it's a space opera that you kind of need to, there's not really places to take breaks. You need to watch it all at once. It just depends on the show. It really depends on the show. So DBZ is a sports anime. I mean, it could be. So yeah. Oh, Epic the Musical. Okay. That is good to know. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for telling me that. And usually the moderators are really good about, I will say, Be Happy and Plore do an amazing job of if something's recommended, or like I had a survey and there were 3 shows on that survey that I put out on Patreon, and 3 of those series, they immediately were like, hey, by the way, we don't think you're ready to watch this show because it's got what you don't want to watch. And I was like, okay, cool. And so that's very helpful because it doesn't spoil anything for me, but it told me that I need to put it on the back burner. And I was like, cool, awesome. Yeah, the mods do an amazing job of taking care. Like they do their research and they come back and they're like, hey, you might want to just hold off on this one and wait. I'm like, okay, fine. And that's really helpful. It's been a big help to me too. But yeah, I would say right now, the only one I would consider splitting up per season would be JoJo's, because I know it's in parts and that's really easy to do. And I think that'd be a very simple split where I could watch parts 1 and part 2, watch another series, come back to part 3, so on and so forth. I think in that type of situation, you'd be able to do that. The other series I think of is like Hunter x Hunter. I know Hunter x Hunter has specific arcs as well. And so you could do this arc with Hunter x Hunter and that arc. So with those series, I think that'd be easy to split up. But some of them would probably be a little bit harder. So it would depend. But yes, but thank you, Be Happy. No, you all are very kind. You all volunteer your time. I appreciate it. So thank you very much. But yeah, so I honestly, though, those dark ages are behind us. They are gone. We are in the midst of sunny summer skies because Summer Hikaru Died is amazing. Steins Gate and Orb, I am already obsessed with. And then Chiaya Furu, I'm obsessed with it every week. Dan to Dan has been a lot of fun. And then, of course, Odd Taxi has me like swimming around the mystery. And then Natsume's Book of Friends is like a big mug of hot chocolate. If I could have chocolate, it would be a big mug of hot chocolate to like just be like, ah. And then Word of Honor is just like me feral fangirling and flailing around every week. So, you know, the Romania Renaissance. I love that. It is a Romania Renaissance. This fall will be a Romania Renaissance, I feel, because we've got some amazing shows on the channel and I'm really excited about that. So, yeah. But I hope that answers everybody's questions. I'm going to do one more poll, one more live stream. We're going to have a poll to see what time it is. A Romaniassance. A Romaniassance. The English teacher in me is living for that. Romaniassance. The Romaniassance on the channel is here. So we're going to have one more live stream. It's going to be on August 24th. So not next week, but the week after next. I'm going to do a poll on Patreon to see if we're going to do it at 1 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whichever works best for the most people. And if people can't see it, then I'll post it on Patreon and it'll be saved here on the live streams as well. But I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk a lot about Land of the Lustrous or Trigun. It's one of those series where if you talk too much, it's like just pure spoilers. But if y'all have things in the comments you want to share, please feel free to, because I love both of those series so much and I don't mind talking about them. So, but anyway, we'll have one more live stream and then it'll probably be till the end of the year before we have another one after that. So, because school starts here in a couple weeks and I'm not ready for that. So, but thank you so much. Thank you, Sunspots. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I really am glad that you all are enjoying the reactions. I'm glad you all enjoyed the stream. I hope the rest of your Sunday and your Monday is amazing. My dogs are barking at me, being like, take me back outside. Yes, school starts so soon. I'm not ready for it. But with that being said, thank you all so much. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the stream. If you're just catching in, you can watch it from the beginning and I will see you all there. Let me tell you, the reactions in these next 2 weeks that I've got set up, I'm so excited about. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, but anyway, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I hope you all enjoy the roller coaster of reactions for the Romaniassance for the rest of August. And I'll see you all around. All right. Bye.